Hey everybody, welcome to etrailer.com. I'm Bobby, and today we're taking a look at the Wiper Technologies premium RV wiper blades. And these are going to be your vented flex style. As you guys can see here today, what that means, you can see these little guys are going to be open. That means they're not going to be catching the wind as much, and you can see our open frame style here as well, allowing that air to go ahead and circulate throughout it. Now, why that's great, you're going to be reaching some pretty high mile per hour movement out there on your RVs, and you're going to find yourself driving on those highways a lot, of course. So if you do find yourself traveling quite a little bit, these are going to be excellent. So what that means for this vented, we're not going to have any of that wind lift on this guy. So that's going to allow the wind to go through it, and we're not going to have that impacting our frame the entire time. What that's going to allow us to do in conjunction with these little frames right here, guys, you can see this constant pressure here is going to give us a great contact there on the entirety of our window. So it's simply going to go ahead and make sure we have no skips, not going to be leaving any streaks. It's going to go ahead and do a great job of making sure we're getting all of that gunk, rainwater off of our windshield, and therefore we're going to be able to see and get to where we need to go in a nice, safe fashion. So I really do like these guys. They do a great job of going ahead and getting on here, and it's nice to see some actual RV wiper blades out here. You are going to be knowing that they're going to be having that nice durability and that quality, and they're going to be lasting you for the seasons to come, which is going to be great. Now, the one thing I will say here, they are only a single blade actionable item here. So what that means, we only have the one blade, right? So one thing I will say, you have like the scrub blades out there. They have those dual actions. I could see this maybe not doing as great as those guys of getting your bug guts off of your windshield. However, I still think this is going to be an excellent little way of still getting them off of there. Especially, they're probably going to be a little fresh. Probably not going to take us too much wiper blade fluid to go ahead and get them off of here. And one thing that's really nice about them too, they don't take too much time to install. They're going to be a pretty simple process. We're going to walk that through here together in just a second. So, yeah, guys, it does have a nice little graphite coating on there too. What that allows it to do, of course, is easily glide and be nice smooth across your windshield as it goes. And that graphite makes it hold up just a little bit longer than you might start seeing from some of your other older wiper blade models out there. Well, it's not going to take us too long to get this installed. Let's go ahead and see how we can do that together. All right, guys, now when we're talking about the hardware here, what we're going to look at for our installation is our hardware that comes with it. So these two guys right here is actually what comes with our Wiper Technologies. What's right here is the previous bolt that was holding on to our older wiper blades on there. So one thing to take note, you guys can see this guy's actually a little bit longer here than our new included hardware. So one thing I would suggest, if you guys can, go ahead and use your old hardware here. It's going to come with a washer and a lock nut as well, and just unfortunately just be a little bit better than what we're actually getting included with our purchase. Now, I will say this is going to be working great for a spare, or if your hardware is damaged, you guys can go ahead and utilize this. However, for us here today, at least, we were definitely seeing that this was kind of wanting to sink up into the well here, and we'll kind of show you that later in that installation. But keep in mind, a lock nut, or I'm sorry, a lock washer and a washer is going to be coming in very handy to go ahead and actually get between here and your nut. And therefore, when you're kind of bringing it up, it's not going to sink into that well. It's going to sit right there, and that washer is going to hold that in place. So let's go ahead and see how we can use these to get them fully installed. All right, guys, so we've gone ahead and walked out one of our arms here today. Now, normally we do go ahead and put like a terry cloth or something to prevent this from walking into your windshield. We don't want this to be snapping back and cracking it. That can definitely be a costly repair. I really just suggest kind of standing in between it here. That's going to give you A, really good access to actually get this guy inserted, and B, you're definitely going to have an easier time keeping this going to the outside, as you won't be accidentally pulling it in towards yourself. And therefore, we're not going to have this interacting with our windshield. So we do have our old spacer in here today. That's actually going to be what we're going to leave in place, as it does come with another spacer as well. You can see though, this guy just going to be a universal fit, so not going to be kind of conforming nearly as good as the original that's on here. And secondly, the original that's on here just gave us a little bit of a better fit overall to go ahead and actually squeeze in here. The one we had was leaving it just a little bit loose. Now, again, you can go ahead and combat that by making sure you do have a good washer set. The problem we are running into is that the bolts here, let me go ahead and just give you guys a little visual representation. This guy was wanting to cinch all the way up inside there. Now this guy isn't going to be able to fall in, but our other nut that comes included is a little bit smaller. This is the original hardware. So that was an issue we're running into. I think with the washer set as well, the universal fit will fit in here properly. Just keep in mind it is a little loose before you tighten it down. But since we don't need this spacer, we can actually just go ahead and put in our blade here today. So we simply want to make sure we're in the right position here for ourselves. walking it up, and you can actually kind of align it from down below, which is great. Of course, make sure your frame isn't walking itself in. Simply take your bolt, run it all the way through. That's going to expose the thread on the other side. So we simply need to put on our flat washer first, our lock washer, and then of course our nut that's going to be holding us on. So let's go ahead and put this guy on. Now when you're putting these guys on and off, we went ahead and utilized 11mm ratchet set to go ahead and get this guy properly loosened. Now that we have our socket, we can go ahead and just simply tighten it up. Now one thing to look forward to, you're going to feel that bolt wanting to move on the other side. Now you really don't need to get it any more tighter than this. You guys can see that's in line very good. And we still want just a little bit of movement here, right? That's going to be good. That's going to allow us to conform to our windshield even as we're in movement. Well, now that we have that installed, we can go ahead, repeat the process on the other side, and we'll be completely installed for ourselves. But while we got it up here, let's go ahead and just look at some of the differences here of our old blades. So, of course, we are utilizing just a little contour blade here today. Now those guys do a decent job. However, I am always like kind of worried about these ends coming undone, as you don't have constant pressure here, much like you do with our vented. So here we're having that frame contact, right? That's pushing us on this point, on these points, on these points, and these points. We're having constant pressure pushing our blade in. For your RV driving or your motorhome driving, you're definitely gonna have a lot more highway miles, a lot of higher speeds. A lot of times you're hitting those big open stretches through Kansas or whatever, right? And that wind really starts ripping you. You can start seeing these guys kind of do a little bit of this action, and that starts leaving skips and gaps. What's going to be great with this guy, as we mentioned before, we're going to have that constant pressure on the entirety of the blade. Therefore, we're not going to have any skids or any marks where we're not actually getting all that rain. And it's doing a great job of making sure we have the vision we need to get safely where we want to go. All right, everybody, now that we have it installed, we can go ahead and see how they do of actually getting any of that rainwater off of here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and simulate a little rain here with the wiper blade fluids. As you guys can see, we're getting pretty good coverage there. I'm kind of seeing a lot of pressure being put on the blades here. It's kind of what's leading it to have this kind of skipping effect here at the bottom. But it's definitely giving me clear access to see out. I'm not seeing too much streaking going on. I am seeing a little residue being left behind. But yeah, still getting a nice coverage there, making sure I can still see out, which is great. Now, one thing here on the Phaeton, I would love a little bit more to the left, but it looks like that's just more of a mechanical, kind of how it's set up, kind of ends right around right here. But yeah, overall, I'm not seeing any skips. It's doing a great job of actually getting everything off. I am seeing maybe here in this bottom left corner, just a little bit being left behind. Now again, though, that's kind of how that arm is ending here, just on the particular RV that we have it on. So that's just something to kind of look out for. But again, I think that's just more of a mechanical issue rather than anything to do with our actual blades. Well guys, let's review what we saw. We definitely saw just a little bit of streaking at the beginning stages when our arms were going. And I think predominantly we're running a couple issues there because A, we're using wiper blade fluid. That's gonna be a little bit different than you might see from actual rain. And secondly, we didn't have too much on there as well. And you saw after just a few more passes, those streaks were quickly taken off. I think what's happening too here, we are having a little bit, I think, more pressure than we were seeing with the old blades that we had installed on this guy. And why that is, we have those constant points of contact, right, and pressure from our actual frame. What that's doing is really giving us a nice push here on our windshield. However, when you don't have a lot of rain, that tends to end up just a little bit of residue being left behind. I think these guys are actually going to be performing a lot better the more consistent and the more amount of rain you actually have on them. I think you'll see definitely more than a nominal upgrade of performance when you actually put these really to the test. Well guys, overall, these definitely did a great job of just going ahead and getting that rain out of my way, right? And at the end of the day, that's all you can really ask from wiper blades. Now, personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of the hardware that actually came included with this guy. I would have liked to see a little bit of a washer set coming with it. That'd have been great, really allowing you to make sure that you're not sinking that nut in too much and where you actually have a good hold here on your blades when they are being installed. But other than that, I think they performed really, really well. I actually am a very big fan of this vented design. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to take it get out on the highway and really put them to the test. But I think you are going to see pretty substantial upgrade from your normal frame designs, especially as you start reaching those higher mile per hour, as you're just going to have a lot more wind resistance, a lot more lift, and hopefully that's really going to cut it down. Overall, guys, going to be a great little way of just going ahead, giving a small little upgrade to your RV to make sure that you can see outside of your windshield at all times with no issue. Well, guys, I think that about does it for our look at the Wiper Technologies premium RV wiper blades vintage style here today at etrailer.com. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.